and welcome to the Miss Sayé show. Today I have the iconic Danny Simmons. He's a Tony Award winner. I love his art. It's uplifting, it's fun, and it's full of color, and it reminds me of Africa. Welcome to the show, Danny. How are you?
Hey, thank you for having me. I'm happy to be on. Where you guys broadcasting from? Where you
Um,
zooming from?
I am currently zooming from Virginia.
Okay,
That's where I am, and it's snowing out there.
it's snowing in Virginia right
Yes,
now.
it is snowing out there.
I'm in Philly and it's nice and bright and sunny. It's a
Oh,
little cold, but we got a nice sunny day. We might get the snow because it usually travels north. So I'll
yeah,
keep my
well, I'm glad you have a sunny day. That's lovely. So what is it that you love about Philadelphia? I know you're very active there, and especially your gallery there.
uh Philadelphia. It's a really friendly city so far. I mean, I miss New York a lot, but Philly feels like home, especially the part of Philly that I'm living in. It's a neighborhood called Northern Liberties. It feels like my Brooklyn that I lived in for 30 years. So, nice townhouses, a lot of art, a lot of artsy people. Um, but what it really brought me here was the opportunity to create another gallery.
Oh,
We had two going in New York City, and I really wanted to expand what we do with Rush Philanthropic Arts Foundation.
yes.
And so I had a big show at a museum the year, and I started looking around the city, and I decided maybe I could, since it's so close to New York, like an hour and a half, 2 hours away, and the real estate was at least half the price.
I
I
can
sold my
imagine.
Yeah, I sold my brownstone in Brooklyn and bought my home and a bank. I bought an old bank and renovated it and turned it into an art gallery. So
That's incredible.
yeah, so I thought it was I came here to create an opportunity to do what I did in New York for so many years.
Lovely. So Rush Foundation, which is your foundation that you help children and youth through art, you were telling me a little bit about it before we went live. That you expanded now to Philadelphia, but it still
Well,
exists in New York.
it doesn't still exist in New York. What We closed down both galleries when about 2 years ago. We didn't have the financial resources to run all three, and since I was here, I decided that this was, and it was new, and the need was here. There's so much art in New York, and in the neighborhood that we moved to in Philadelphia, for miles in any direction, there were no art galleries, there were no cultural institutions. And so the need was here. So I closed down the ones in New York and really did more renovations, opened a second gallery here. So now there are two galleries here. And working in a neighborhood that's really underserved with people with lower incomes and who don't have access to arts. We're really trying to make a difference in that neighborhood. The neighborhood's called Logan. And so we're trying to make a big difference in that neighborhood. The people in the neighborhood love us. The artists here, there were no artist galleries here doing what we were doing. So it was an opportunity to expand. At some point, we might go back to New York, but I see going to more places like this where there are no arts, so we can bring something that's not there. New York, every other place you go, there's a million art galleries. Here,
I hear
there
you.
wasn't.
I hear you. And about your style, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think is Neo-African Expressionism. Is that what it is?
Wow, about 15 years ago, somebody asked me what my artistic style was, and I thought about it for a second. And my style is a combination of African art, the influence, not direct relationship, the influence of African arts and the influence of abstract expressionism. So I just came up with the term Neo-African Abstract Expressionism because it's really a melding of those two things. I know that the modernists like Picasso and Clay and all of them got their inspiration from African art, and so did I. but I also got my inspiration from people like Jackson Pollock and Paul Klee and so many other artists. So when I started thinking about what I was doing, it turned out to be a sort of amalgamation of those two different things that came to my head. So.
Beautiful. Well, you have certainly have been leading the way and paving the road for many other up and coming young Black artists. And I see the sweater that you're wearing. I like it very much.
Yeah,
Black
because,
art matters. Tell me about it.
yeah, I put this on to be seen in it. An artist of mine who I've worked with many times was named Willie Cole from Newark, New Jersey. Came up with this sweatshirt and logo, and so I'm supporting him. But it really is a statement about Black art. So I really want to wear it today.
Yes, I'm so glad you did. It definitely making a statement, and you look good in it. And it's really catchy. I like it. Black arts matter. So tell me a little bit about, especially Black History Month. That's what I would like to focus on. And again, you are a leading force, and you have been setting the bar high as a Black artist. And I want to know, how do you use your art to cope with the injustice that goes around, especially for African Americans in the United States?
Well, first of all, art really is something that uplifts people. So when you bring art to the people, it gives them a positive attitude. So first of all, just having art in and around them is a strike for social justice. If you put art in neighborhoods where it's not, you're changing that neighborhood and you're changing it for the positive. So really, anytime you bring art to people who don't have it, you're doing social justice. We also have done a number of shows over the years focusing directly on social justice, with artists who create art about social justice, not just the transformative power of art. Right now, I'm also curating, there's a magazine called Tribes, and they're doing a Black Lives Matter issue. So I'm curating art about the Black Lives Matter movement for that issue. So, I mean, there's a lot of ways that we're using art to uplift people, to speak to the moment that's going on right now. There's a moment here in America, as you can see by all the things, where there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of change. And our conversation in the middle of this is extremely important. So, Black Lives Matter and art and social protest has to be a part of the conversation. And we at Rush are trying to do it. We've had kids in our class create protest signs. What do they think? And talking to them about what do they think about the protest. And what we're doing now is getting those signs printed and putting them out in the front of our building out in Logan. So, I mean, there are a lot of ways that we can use art and expression to help the movement.
That is beautiful. And you talked about kids again. I would love to hear more about the kids who are part of the Rush Foundation. You said that during COVID, you have been doing more of a virtual teaching and classes. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, since we were no longer able to keep the gallery open because of COVID, we were able to create several online programs. And one of them clearly was teaching the kids on Saturday morning, like we had been doing. And so, we have a teacher Zoom, and we have kids from all over the country coming in and Zooming in and taking our class. And our director, Noah Small, said, well, a lot of these kids don't have a lot of money, and they were noticing some kids only had paper and pencil. So we started sending them art supplies at the beginning of each session. We do 6-week sessions. And at the beginning of each session, before, like a week before, we make sure we get the addresses and the parents' permission, and we send them an art pad and different color pencils and watercolor things. So it's a little package that each kid gets so they can participate. And so every kid has the same amount and the same kind of materials to work with.
That is great because that was my other question. I was going to ask you. I know art supplies are expensive, and so how do you go about that? But it seems like you provide that through your foundation for the
Yeah,
kids.
that was a great idea of our director, Noah Smalls. He was like, listen, we don't want one kid sitting there with just a pencil and a paper and other kids sitting there with full art sets. And we don't want to create that sort of idea that there's inequity. So we want everybody to have the same thing and use the same thing. So, he started that about 2 sessions ago. And the kids and the families are really happy to get this stuff. And, we raise money for the arts. What better way to spend it?
I hear you. Well, thank you so much for all that you're doing, and you are impacting globally, locally from where you are in Philadelphia. That is
Yeah,
beautiful.
hopefully, we got kids coming in from California. We got kids coming in from all over the nation, and not that many, but from different spots in the nation coming in and joining the art class. So we're really happy about that. And even after the pandemic is over, we're going to still do the virtual class to make sure that we touch kids all around the nation and around the world because the internet is worldwide. Um, if I could have a second, I have a show that's up right now that people can zoom into.
Yes.
Yes,
Please tell us.
on the 23rd of this month, there's a gallery in Philadelphia called In Liquid. I did what is more than they have 20 paintings that I've done during the pandemic that all sort of tie together around the issue of coming together in isolation and all the things that come up during that. So there are 20 paintings at this gallery called In Liquid. And if you go to my Facebook page or you go to the Rush Arts Philly or the Rush Philanthropic Facebook page, you can find the link and zoom in on the 23rd and be part of our reception.
Yes, I have already signed up for that, and I am super excited because I've never toured a gallery virtually. So I'm excited
It's
to,
gonna be
if
fun.
watch it virtually. That is incredible. And these are the arts that you have created during your quarantine.
During my quarantine and some of the poetry that I've created. Also, I'm also a poet, so you're gonna hear a few poems that I've created during the quarantine also.
Beautiful. Are you going to recite those poems or
Yes,
how would you do it?
yes,
Awesome.
I'm gonna sit there on Zoom from the gallery and recite them.
That's beautiful. I very much look forward to it, and I'm sure our audience would enjoy the footage as well. Danny, I know that your art is being exhibited at places such as Chase Bank, such as United Nations. This is huge accomplishment. And I would love to learn more about how is that process? How does your art end up being in such, iconic places?
I'm not quite sure there's really a process. Those places, they're in the art world. They have curators and buyers who follow artists or follow art shows, and they see things they like, or they follow somebody's career and purchase things. But also some of those places, the art was donated. Like when the Smithsonian, 2 years before the African American Smithsonian Museum in Washington opened, they reached out to me and I donated a painting at that time to be in their collection. So sometimes you donate, sometimes they buy, it's all different ways. But really, in order to do that, you have to be active in the art world and people have to be able to see your stuff. So, I mean, social media is great now to be active. But going to art shows and meeting people and talking to people and have your art talked about and the things you do talked about is important so people know who you are and say, well, this would be great to have in our collection.
I love it. I love how openly you shared. Sometimes you donate, sometimes they buy. It's just like actors. Like for me as an actress, sometimes I work for free because I believe in the project. I believe in the message. I believe in sometimes I get paid, but I don't even like the project, but I know it's going to pay the bill. So it's just like you pick
The
and
bill
choose.
gotta get paid. That's for sure.
You have to pick, why am I doing this project again? Oh, this one I'm going to pay the rent, but that one I believe in, but this one I'm proud of. So we do it for different reasons. And I often explain that to my friends that, like, you know what? It's not that I am just sitting on the couch. and I'm just saying yes, no, yes, no. There's like a thought process going, why am I getting involved with the project? And I think as we go and grow older like me, we intend to do more meaningful, and we value our time to be involved with things that are more meaningful, and we're impacting our world, which it seems like you have been doing for such a long time. Um,
Thank you.
thank you very much. So, one thing, I know that you said before you went to college because your dad told you so. So, I
Well,
want to know, I want to know, do you regret it that you listened to him, or
no,
are you
not
happy
at
you went?
all. Not at all. You know, both my father, my mother, and my grandmother went to college. So it was what I was going to do in college. And my father said, make sure you do something that you can get a job at. And
Right.
he was not about me going to school for art. And so I went to school to be a social worker. But one of the things that happened is sort of what I do with Rush is sort of social work. So, and I worked as a social worker for 8 years. So it's really my art practices comes from my art and my social work background. So no time was wasted in me going to school for social work.
I hear you. Well, lovely. Well, you were very clever to go to make him happy by going to college, but still achieving what you wanted to achieve. I can resonate with that. As an actress, when you run into a traditional Persian, older Persian traditional, and like they come and say, "Oh, you're beautiful. What do you do for a living?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm an actress." They're like, "Mm-hmm, great, great. So what do you do? Like, what do you actually do? Like,
What do you do to make money?
yeah, clearly anything else is your hobby, but like, tell us what you actually do. So they don't take it seriously most of the time. But you know, the more people, as you said, social media has opened people's minds, and people globally can connect with each other. One other thing I wanted to ask you, I have been very active globally with orphanages and refugee camps.
Mhm.
And I see art and drama therapy as a very good channel to like open people up and allow them to express. If you had an opportunity to one of these days visit a refugee camp to work with these children, how would you, you know, the resources are very small there, not almost to nothing. How would you connect with them, and how would you let them learn and express through
Well,
painting or art?
well, listen, I mean, if they have access to the internet, any of these kids can come and join our art class.
Hmm.
So I mean, that's one way. Also, you can specifically fundraise around specific projects. So, if there's a project connecting us to a refugee camp or something like that, we could try to raise the funds to actually send someone there to work with the kids. But right now, in the age of the internet, if they have a computer and they have access to computers, they can all join in to the art classes every Saturday morning.
That is great. That's something to keep in mind, to do that also virtually. But what do you do like when you don't when they don't have access to, as you said, the
Then,
uh,
then we can try to figure out a way to raise the money to get teachers to get there.
that is incredible. Well, maybe that give us an idea to collaborate at some point.
That
Um,
would be nice. That
that
would
would
be
be
fun.
lovely. I would love that. Do you do yoga?
No, Russell does yoga, as the world knows. I have not. I've done yoga a few times with Russell, but no, it's not. I don't practice.
You don't practice. Okay,
No.
I was just wondering if you do yoga, because I love yoga and I do yoga. And I was like, another way to collaborate is that we could have yoga and art, because usually galleries have such a great wide
Well,
space.
we used to do when in our gallery in Brooklyn a few years back. We used to have meditation and yoga before the art class
Oh,
started for the kids.
so good. So the kids would participate in those.
Right.
And
They
then,
would do that. I mean, we would have the yoga instructor come in and she would do yoga with the kids and the teachers. And then they would meditate for a while and then they would create art.
Oh, so beautiful. So you're already doing what I was dreaming.
Well, we haven't done that in years, but we did that for about 3 or 4 years in a row.
That's incredible. That's
Every
beautiful.
Saturday, they would come in and do yoga with the kids.
Thank you so much for sharing. What if other kids want to join your Saturday classes? How do they apply to see if they're qualified for that?
There, you know, when when this goes live, Naisha can provide you with the links and the applications and the permission slips. They're more like permission slips that we can give access to. So I don't have it right here sitting here now, but the person that connected us together can
Sure.
give you all that information so that she can spread it. You can spread it to the people who listen to the show.
That would be great. One last question I have for you. How do you
Sure.
get inspired? Like, do you like writers have writer's block? Does artists have artist block? And how do you get rid
Well,
of the block?
well, well, I really started painting second to my writing, and when I got writer's block, I started painting, and it unblocked my writing after a few paintings. I switch back and forth, and they inspire each other. But what inspires me the most, I collect art, and the art that I live with. I collect a lot of art. I talk to a lot of artists. So the constant immersion in art around me really is the best inspiration that I have.
So staying involved, staying
Staying
active.
involved, you get new ideas from conversations. I mean, right now we're in isolation, but there's so many ways to connect with people to keep the conversation going that you need to do that for inspiration. This is a period of time where people can get isolated and lonely and depressed. And
Right.
so making sure that you stay connected with people and talking about the things that you care about, in this case, art, is really helpful.
I hear you. Do you have any encouraging words for Black artists, for up and coming artists, inspiring artists?
You know, the same thing. Even though things have gotten better over the years for artists to be, accepted into art galleries, it's always good to start something locally on your own, a salon in somebody's house to show your art. Join, join internet. I'm in a group called Black Abstract Artists, where hundreds and hundreds of artists from all over the world actually uh, upload their pictures and discuss art. I mean, there are a million Facebook art groups. You should join those art groups and show your work. I've chosen so many artists from that group to be part of exhibitions that we're giving at the gallery. So I mean, like I said, it's really still whatever you do, you have to be seen, to talk, to be involved, so people can see what you do. And if you're just doing it by yourself, then you'll sit there and look at it by yourself. It's really that's what
I love it.
you have to be involved, even if you're shy. Put up the pictures and let people comment and take criticism and and engage in dialogue with people. That's how you get out there.
I know that human connection, these
That human
past
connection.
year made it even emphasize more at how important it is, that human connection.
That's
Uh,
right.
well, I am so grateful that I connected with you. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
Danny, for your
Thank,
time, for coming
thank
on
you.
the
I
show.
appreciate the show.
Sending you lots of love, and I hope to see you soon in person.
Bye bye now.
Bye, Danny.
Bye bye.